Welcome to ForTechSupport. My name is Adam Demont, and today I'm thrilled to share with you a tutorial on how to integrate the OpenAI models DALL-E, GPT-3, and ChatGPT or 3.5 Turbo into Power Automate workflows through custom connectors. Our goal is to help you improve productivity, automate complex workflows, and add intelligence to your daily tasks. These AI models can perform a range of tasks, such as generating images based on textual descriptions, creating human-like text, answering questions, translating languages, and constructing conversational interfaces and chatbots. In this tutorial, we'll walk you through the benefits of creating custom connectors for each of these models and demonstrate how to define the API endpoints and parameters, create the custom connectors, and test and validate them. By following these steps, you'll be able to leverage these AI models to their full potential, adding intelligence to your workflows and automating tasks that you previously required manual intervention. So join us as we dive into creating custom connectors for DALL-E, GPT-3, and ChatGPT to unlock their true potential and revolutionize your productivity. So let me just run through these screens real quick. You probably are familiar with this one for ChatGPT, the interface for the chatbot. You may or may not have seen this interface for DALL-E. We've got some examples here on OpenAI's website on what you can do with these tools. We've got some documentation on how to get started and guides, and we've got a list of all the current models here as well, and it shows which ones are in beta or limited beta and which ones are not. They also have their API documentation, very detailed, so you can dig through this and see what kind of things you can do with these tools. They also have a playground, what they call a playground, where you can kind of fiddle around with the different models that they have for GPT-3 and Codex, and you can change like temperature here, change the randomness, or other parameters however you want, or properties however you want. If you don't already have an API key, that's the first thing you're going to want to do is sign up for an OpenAI account and then create an API key at this URL here. And once you have a key created, you'll want to save it somewhere safe because you won't be able to see it again. You'll just have to delete it and recreate a new one if you lose it. And that's not a big deal. You'll have to update that wherever you're using the secret key though. So once you have that key, I'll just tell you real quick, especially when you're using DALL-E, just be careful about your use because if you're generating a lot of images, it can add up pretty quickly. They can range, they typically about 4 cents an image, so just monitor the $18 credit that OpenAI gives you. Otherwise, you'll have to purchase credits that you'll be able to use to generate new images after you run through the $18 credit. And then for Microsoft, you will need a premium license or a license to access the premium connectors, or you can sign up for a trial to access those connectors, I think for 90 days currently. This is the plan I subscribe to access the premium connectors for $15 a month. I think it's worth it. They give you access to these are just the premium connectors that you have access to. And as you can see, there are quite a few connectors there. But you will need this for the custom connectors that we're going to be building, and you will need them for the HTTP requests and some other common ones that you may use in your workflows. And then this is what our custom connectors will look like when they're finished. And if I wanted to go into one of these, I can just click edit here. And we can see general, security, definition, code preview, and we can test it out here right within the connector. These are already all set up though. And this is what it will look like once we're like building adding the custom connectors into our workflows. So we can Click here, add a new action, go to custom, and we can see all of our custom connectors right here. We'll be able to select from those ones. And as you can see, in my trigger, I've got a few inputs here, one for each of these models, and you can see we've got options here for system, user, or assistant. It shows the GPT turbo model for ChatGPT. We've got this model for DALL-E and the DaVinci model for this particular GPT-3 model that we're going to be doing. And you also have the option of selecting the different sizes here for images. So with that being said, let's hop over to Power Automate so we can get started building the first custom connector. Once you're logged into Power Automate, go ahead and select the Data tab on the left and click Custom Connectors. And then up at the top, click New Custom Connector and Create from Blank. Let's give the connector name DALL-E. Click Continue. And I've already got an image to upload, so I'm going to use this one here. I'm going to give it a description of this custom connector is for the DALL-E model. For the host, I'm going to type in api.openai.com. I'm going to click Security. Change this to API key. For the label, type in API key. For the name, type in authorization. And leave header for the location. Click Definition. New action. For this one, I'm going to do ask ChatGPT, or I'm sorry, this one's DALL-E, so let's use DALL-E. For this one, I'm going to make it slightly different. I'm going to put using DALL-E, and then for this one, I'm just not going to have any hyphens or spaces there. That'll take a second. There we go. I'm going to click Import from Sample, and I'm going to change this to Post. I'm going to use the endpoint URL for the DALL-E model that's posted on the documentation page on OpenAI's website, which is this one here currently. I'm going to use content type application JSON for the headers, and I'm going to use the following JSON for the body. And this is just pulled from OpenAI's documentation. I'm going to click Import. And now that it's imported, I'm going to scroll down and click Content Type, Edit. And then for the default value here, I'm going to put in application JSON. So let's go ahead and put that there. I'm going to make this required and internal. And I'm going to go back. The next one, we're going to edit the body. And for this one, let's make it required. And then let's edit the model first. So the model is the DALL-E model. We're just going to call that DALL-E model in the title. Leave the description alone. And for the default value for this model, we're going to use the image alpha 001 model. We're going to make this required, and we're going to make it important. And go back, and you can see this has changed down here. The next one we're going to do is the number of images. So let's go into N, edit. Call that number of images in the title, leave the description alone, and I'm just going to set the default value to 1 so we generate 1 image per prompt. I'm going to make that required and important, and I'm going to go back. I'm going to change the prompt next. For this one, for the title, let's do text to generate images. We'll leave the description alone with prompt there. And then for the default value, we're going to leave that blank so that we can enter a prompt each time. We're going to make this required and important. We're going to go back. Go back, and we're going to edit the size next. So for the title, we're going to call this image size. We'll leave the description set to size there. For the default value, I'm just going to set it to 1024 by 1024. I'm going to make it required and important. I'm going to change the drop-down type to static, and we're going to put an array of sizes in here. We're going to put 256 by 256, 512 by 512, and 1024 by 1024. I'm going to go back and confirm that all of our properties are set here, and then I'll click Create Connector, and that should just take a few seconds to save. Once it's saved, we're going to add a connection, so you're going to need your API key ready for the next screen. So once that is saved, we're going to click on the test button here up at the top, number 5. Click New Connection. A new tab will open. And here we're going to use our API key, but what you're going to do is type in bearer space and then paste your API key after that. Not up here, but right in here. Click Create Connection. Refresh here, and we'll see the connection. And now we can enter a prompt. I'll just use this one here, Pixar style 3D rendering of a chimpanzee sleeping on a bed shaped like a banana. I'll leave the, or actually I'm going to change this. Let's do 512 by 512. Test operation. And then it should just take a few seconds to generate. We'll scroll down. We got our URL here, so I'm going to open this in a new tab so we can see the image. Not the greatest, but you can see it. It was generating what I told it to, pretty much. So what we're going to do is select the entire body here and paste, copy that. Go into the definition, scroll down to response and click default. Click import from sample, paste the body there, and then click import. And now we can update our connector. That should just take a few seconds, and once this is updated, our DALL-E custom connector is ready to be used in the Power Platform. And I'll be testing that out at the end of this video, so you can jump ahead if you want to see that in action, or you can follow along with the next connector, which will be the GPT-3 model that we'll be building in Power Automate custom connectors. So the next custom connector is for GPT-3. We're going to go do the same thing from Power Automate, click on Data, then Custom Connectors. And we can see our DALL-E connector there if you followed along with the first one. Click on New Custom Connector again up at the top and create from blank once again. We're going to call this one GPT-3. And this one specifically is the DaVinci model. If you want to use previous models, those can be set up also, but I'm just going to use this for the example. So just to let you know, it's DaVinci that we're using for this particular GPT-3 model. Once you have that entered in for the connector name, click Continue. And I've got an image already. If you don't, you can download one from the internet. So I'm going to use this one for GPT-3. I'm going to give it a description of this custom connector is for the GPT-3 model DaVinci. For the host, I'm going to type in api.openai.com, and then I'm going to click Security. Change this to API key. For the parameter label, type in API key. And for the parameter name, type in authorization. Leave the parameter location set to header, and then click definition. On the left side, click on New Action. And for this one, we're going to call this one Use GPT-3. So we're going to just do this real quick. Hold on one sec. There we go. For this one, I'm going to make it slightly different and do using. And then for this one, I'm not going to use any spaces or hyphens. Just like that. Once that's typed in, I'm going to do import from sample. I'm going to use the endpoint that's listed for GPT-3 on OpenAI's website. I'm also going to select post here. So it's V1 completions. Just like we did with the DALL-E model, we're going to use content type application JSON, and then we're going to use slightly different JSON in this example than we did with our DALL-E model. So for this one, I'm going to use this example here. I've set the max tokens to 2,000. You can have that be different if you want, and same thing with these other parameters if you want to make those different. I've also entered create a list of operating systems for the prompt here. And the model set to Text DaVinci 003. If you're using a different model like Ada, Babbage, or Curie, you can set those up, with that particular model instead. So once you have all this entered, go ahead and click import, and then scroll down, click on content type here, and edit. And then for the for the default value, we're going to use application JSON. So paste that right there. I'm going to do is required, yes. And then for the visibility, I'm going to make it internal. And then go back. And we're going to edit the body next. And there's going to be multiple parameters that we need to edit there. But the first thing we're going to do is make it required. Let's go ahead and edit the model, let's do the model first. Edit. For the title, I'm going to call this one GPT-3 Da Vinci model. I'm going to leave the description set to model. And then for the default value, I'm going to make that text Da Vinci 003. Make this required and make it important. And go back. The next one we're going to do is we're going to do the prompt next. So for this one, we're going to set the title to text to send to the AI. So let's click on prompt, edit, and oops, wrong one there, one sec. Text to send to the AI. I'm going to leave the description set to prompt. For the default value, we're going to leave that blank so we can enter prompt manually. We're going to make it required and we're going to make it important. And then we're going to go back and edit the next one. And you can see these are changing down here to the title that I gave it. And the next one we're going to do max tokens, and we're just going to give that a title of maximum tokens. And we're going to set the default value to let's do 2000. And then we're going to make that required. We're going to make it important, and then we're going to go back. The next one we're going to change is temperature, and this is the randomness. We're going to set that to 0 so it's less random. So we're going to call that 0. We're going to make it required and important, and go back. Got a couple more left here. Next one is top_p. We're going to edit that. We're going to just call this nucleus sampling. And then for the default value, we're going to set it to 1. Make it required and make it important. And go back and then change n, and we're going to call this the number of completions. So we're going to do 1 completion, make it required, make it important, and then we're going to go back just to confirm all of these have changed, and then we're going to click create connector and wait for it to connect. It should just take a few seconds to save, and then we can go ahead and create a new connection to test. So at this point, you should have your API key ready from OpenAI, and we're going to be entering it in on the next screen. So click on test here. Click on new connection since we don't have one yet. Type in the word bearer and then a single space followed by your API key here, and then click create connection. Once this appears again, click refresh here so our connection shows. And then we can type in a prompt here to test it out. So I'm just going to use something I did before. What are the first 13 states in the US? Test operation. That should just take a few seconds. And we could scroll down and we could see our answer here. It's got a list of states here. But we're just going to copy everything in the body. Go back to definition. Scroll down. Click on default under response. Import from sample, and then paste the body into the body field and click import. All of those should appear for the body, and then we're going to just update the connector. Once that saves, our GPT-3 Da Vinci connector should be ready to use in our Power Platform in our Microsoft flows. And at this point, if you want to see it in action, you can jump ahead to the end of the video where I test out all 3 connectors. Or you can just follow along with the next creation of a connector for the ChatGPT GPT 3.5 Turbo model. And for the ChatGPT custom connector, do the same thing. We're going to go in Power Automate, go to Data, and then Custom Connectors. And we've got both of our connectors here if you created those first two. We're going to do the same thing, create from blank up here at the top. We're going to call this ChatGPT. Click continue. I've already got an image to upload for that, so I'm going to use this one. And I'm going to give the description a value of this custom connector is for the ChatGPT model. For the host, we're going to do api.openai.com and then click security. We're going to change this to API key. Type in API key for the parameter label. Type in authorization for the parameter name, and then leave the parameter location set to header. Click definition. Then click new action on the left side. We're going to call this one we'll call this ask ChatGPT. We'll call this asking ChatGPT, and we'll call this ask ChatGPT without a space there. I'm going to click on import from sample under request, change this to post, and then I'm going to use the endpoint for the GPT 3.5 turbo model that is used for ChatGPT currently. And that endpoint URL is listed on OpenAI's web documentation site as well, but this is what it looks like currently. For the headers, I'm going to use content type application JSON, just like the other custom connectors. And then for the body, we're going to use the JSON that's associated with the format for this model, which uses the GPT 3.5 turbo model, and then uses messages in an array with roles of choices of system, user, or assistant. And you can see in the example here, we've got a role of system and a role of user with content for each of them. And then once you have all that entered, you can click import, scroll down, click on content type and edit. And for this one, we're going to do application JSON under the default value. We're going to set the, erase that. We're going to set that to required and internal, and then go back and edit the body next. And we've only got 3 to edit here. We're going to do the model first. And for the model, we're going to do the GPT 3.5 turbo model. So we're going to enter that for the default value. And then for the title, we can just call that ChatGPT model. We're going to make that required and important. And then for the next one, we're going to use, go back. We're going to select role next, and we're going to use an array in this this part. And one sec, let me find. All right, let me paste this here. Oh, sorry, wrong spot. Let me paste that down here. You're going to want to click static, and then we can put our array here for system, user, and assistant. We're going to make this required and important as well. And for the title, we're going to call this one message role, so we know who it's coming from. And for the default value, we're going to actually leave that blank. Okay. And then we're going to go back and edit the content next. So we'll go here, and we'll call this one message content. And we're going to leave the description alone. We're going to leave the default value alone so we can enter it manually. We're going to make it required and important. And go back. And once you have these set here, we're going to create the connector. Oop, I already see I messed up one little thing. So if you haven't created your connector yet, hold off on doing that. You're going to want to make one more thing required, which I should have mentioned already. It'll show in one sec here. Okay, let me go back, edit the body, and I forgot to make this required in body. So I'm going to update that one more time. Once this is saved, we can go ahead and test it out after we create a connection. So you're going to want your API key for this next part. We're going to click on test, and then we're going to click on new connection. And then we're going to type in bearer with a single space after it, and then our API key, whatever yours is here. I'm going to paste mine, create connection, and then once we're back here, we're going to refresh that, and then we can test it out to see if it works. I'm going to just use the role of user, and for the content, I'm just going to type in write a haiku about a dog finding a bone. And I'll scroll down and we can see our haiku here. Amongst the tall grass, a treasure lies buried deep, a dog's joyous find. We're going to copy the entire body, go to definition. We're going to scroll down to response and click on default, import from sample, and then paste that body in there and click import. And we'll see that body appear here. Click update connector one more time. And once this is saved, our ChatGPT custom connector should be ready to use in the Power Platform. If you followed along from the beginning of this video, you've now created all 3 connectors, and we're going to now test out the connectors in the next part of this video. So I'm just going to run through all 3 examples real quick. I'll start with DALL-E. So you can see I've already built just a sample flow here using the DALL-E custom connector. And I'll show you how that flow is built before we can test it out. So let me just expand all this and we can see what it looks like. You can see I have the trigger as when keywords are mentioned, and I just have the single keyword here of DALL-E with no hyphen in the test channel of the tutorials team. It's going to get the message details from that message, and it's going to use the message body to send to DALL-E and hopefully generate an image that is 512 by 512. If I wanted to change that, I can do that here. And let me just show you real quick where you would add those connectors. The custom connectors are just under this tab here. You'll see all 3 of the ones that we built earlier in this video. So let me exit out of there. And then once we get the response back from there, we're going to send it back to Teams in that same message in a reply. And we're just going to use the image source tag and put the URL from the output of the use DALL-E action in this flow. So let's go back and let's hop over to Teams. So let me go over here. You can see I've got a butterfly from earlier. I've got a prompt down here already in the test channel of the tutorials team. And I have the keyword here, DALL-E, or DALL-E, lifelike image of a flamingo in a shallow pond. And we should get a response back just in a few seconds with an image of that flamingo in a shallow pond. And then I'll show you the flow, how it ran also. There we go, we have an image there. And let me go back. And if I refresh this page, we can see our flow ran. Oh, it ran twice for some reason, but this is the successful one. And we can see there's our text that we asked it to do. Down here, we can see the response. So, oh, and actually from here, we can go down here and see raw outputs as well. So let me go back. So now you have seen DALL-E in action. Let's go to GPT-3. And I've built one here using OneNote. You can see the connections over here already. Let's go ahead and take a look at that one. And in this one, my trigger I just have set to a manual trigger. The first action is going to get page content from this page here. And this is just a sample. You know, you might not build a flow this way, but you'll get an idea of how this custom connector can be used in the flow. So once we get the page content from this OneNote page, we're going to send the body, that page, to our DaVinci connector for GPT-3, and we're going to ask it to summarize the following OneNote page. From there, we're going to get the response back to update the page content for that same page, and we're going to append it after the content that's already on there. We're going to give it a H3 tag with the page summary in the tag, or in that heading, and then we're going to give it a red font as well. And then for below that, we're going to put the outputs, the text outputs from the DaVinci connector, from the outputs here. So let's go ahead and test that one out. And for this one, let me go ahead. So I've got the desktop app already opened here, and I'm just going to open the sync here, and then we can test it out. So I'm going to go back here, click test, manually test. We don't have any inputs, so we just need to sign in the first time only, and then we can run the flow. Click done, and we can watch it go through these steps. It should be pretty quick for this one. And actually, let me go back here. It's already finished. I'm just going to sync this, and we'll see the summary appear down here. And we got the red font for the heading there. And we got just a summary of what was on the page before this here. So let's go hop over to the last one now for ChatGPT. This one's for song lyrics, so we can find the meaning in song lyrics. And for this one, I'm using Excel as well. So I've got 5 URLs from lyricsfreak.com for 5 different songs, and it's going to grab that list. And from there, we're going to trigger this manually as well. It's going to grab our list of URLs. We're going to one by one send an HTTP request get method to that URL for each of those 5. And from there, once we get a response back, we're going to use the body to convert the HTML to text. We're going to use that in the next action. So when we use the custom connector for ChatGPT, we're going to see the turbo model here for 3.5. We can select the roles and then enter content for each of them. We can add as many as we need to by clicking add new item here. So you can see I've got assistant for the first message, and for the content it says you are a respected music producer who is, I had that right. I don't know why I'm messing this up, sorry. You are a respected music producer who is an industry expert on meanings of song lyrics. And then the next one is user. Describe the meaning of the following song lyrics. And then we have the body from the output here. From there, we're going to get that response back, and we're going to update the row that it's associated with. And just remember, this is going to go through each of those 5 and do all of these steps here. So the last action, it's going to update the row, and we're going to put the response from here, which would be the meaning of the song lyrics, in the meaning column. So we should have the artist, the title, the URL for the lyrics, and the meaning of the lyrics all in our Excel file by the end of this. So real quick before we test it out, let me go back. So I haven't run this yet. This is our sample here. We've got 5 songs here. You can see the URLs here on the left, and we've got title and artist already filled out. Or sorry, I got that backwards. This should be the other way around. That's the title there. This is the artist. And we'll leave this blank for now, and that should fill in automatically when we run our flow. So let's go back here, and let's go ahead and run this. And you'll only have to sign in the first time, and you can see all of the connectors we're using in this flow that need to be signed into. So we're going to click continue, and we're going to run the flow. Click done, and you can see it running now. So we're going to open that up, and it's going to run through each of these real quick, and we'll hop over here and we'll see these start to fill in as well. So there's the first one, and you can format these however you like, before or after the flow runs, but should just take a minute or so to fill all of these in, and then I'll format the, or actually I can probably do it now. Let me just wrap the text. There we go. And you can see it's giving me meaning for each of these song lyrics. Two more, one more. And that's the last one. And we can verify that it went through successfully. All of our steps here. So all three of them work successfully. If you followed along with this tutorial, you shouldn't have any problems, but feel free to reach out to me if you need any help along the way. Thank you for joining us for this tutorial on integrating DALL-E, GPT-3 and ChatGPT into your Power Automate workflows. We hope that you have found this tutorial informative and that you're excited to try out these powerful AI models in your own workflows. By following the steps outlined in this tutorial, you can add a new level of intelligence to your daily tasks and increase your productivity. Remember, by liking and sharing this video, you'll help us spread the word and reach a wider audience. And if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe to our channel to stay up to date with the latest technology tutorials and tips on how to leverage the software and hardware that you use to maximize their potential. And don't forget to follow us on our blog or RSS feed, our LinkedIn, Reddit, or Twitter for more content on how to unlock the full potential of AI models like DALL-E, GPT-3, and ChatGPT, and stay up to date with the latest trends in tech. Thank you for watching, and we look forward to seeing you again for the next video. Have a great day.